Hello there folks, it is Toby from TIJ Music and today is time for a new album review and today is time to review the last Golden Era album from Kiss. That of course is the 1977 release Love Gun. What a whopper of an album, what an album to end on to the end of the Golden Era. Now I know all you vinyl lovers will be wanting to have a look at this, that's the front cover, cracking front cover. We've got the back cover here and I don't actually think any of these tracks are in the right order, which is interesting I suppose. And then we have the inner sleeve, no lyrics, just the words Kiss. It's the same on the other side, just without the Casablanca and Rocksteady bits on there. And then you've got side one of the record, starting with I Stole Your Love, finishing with Tomorrow and Tonight. And then side two. I don't know how that looks on the webcam, but I presume it caught it decently. But that's enough of Vinyl Showcase today. We're going to talk about Love Gun by Kiss. It's my first album review for Kiss, and a band that I've really got into probably since I went to see them last July. It was a band I was really into anyway, but I hadn't seriously sat down and listened to all their albums. But I've listened to Love Gun, listened to all of the classic era albums, and they're all fantastic. I just pulled it out of a hat. I was going to do Love Gun today, and I thought, why not? My first album review for Kiss, make it the last Golden Era album. That makes complete sense, doesn't it? But if you want to see regular Kiss album reviews as well as stuff from the rest of rock and all over music, I am a Bryan Adams fan, as you can see here. Of course, collaborated with Kiss, didn't he, once? Anyone who knows that, down in the comments. Nice stuff. But yeah, there's a real variance of stuff on the channel, so I'm sure there'll be something else that you'd like. So if you could subscribe down below, that'd be absolutely awesome. And of course, leave a thumbs up if you go on to enjoy. But enough of the self-promotion crap, let's talk about Love Gun. So, Love Gun, the 6th studio album from Kiss, a follow-up to 1976's great album, Rock and Roll Over. The first Kiss album to feature lead vocals from Ace Frehley on Shock Me, first Kiss album as well to have a lead vocal from each member. So that's Paul, Gene, Ace and Peter Criss. And talking about Peter Criss, the last studio album from Kiss to feature Peter Criss on each track. On Dynasty, of course, came after this. The session drummer Anton Fig played on a lot of the tracks. And before we do continue, I do apologise, I'm looking at the screen a little bit differently. My notes are on each side of the screen, so I might not be looking directly into the camera at all points. But quite a famous poll, quite a famous Gallup poll was completed before the album was released that said that Kiss was the most popular band in the US over Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith and the Eagles. So Kiss were really riding high at this point, and my God, how they went down with Shady. Yeah, that's enough said. In August 1977, just after they released the record, they did record 3 shows at the LA Forum for a live tour. With many of the tracks off this record, again, we've got Love Gun, Christine 16 was on there, Shock Me was on there, I Stole Your Love. I don't think any of the others were on there, but I know the 4 main tracks were on that. Of course, it was tracks from Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun, primarily on that record. I think that was all that was on that record, actually. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Because, of course, Alive was from the first 3 studio albums. The album cover, which I was going to look at next, the album cover was painted by Ken Kelly, a great cartoon here, with the 4 members and the women as well at the bottom. Great artwork. He also produced the Destroyer cover, the Rock and Roll... Oh, no, not the Rock and Roll Over cover, just the Destroyer cover. And also produced the great cover for Rainbow. Rising cover, absolutely awesome album, another album that I have reviewed, so make sure to go and check that out once you have watched this one. The album again produced by Eddie Kramer, who had worked with the group before on a live Rock and Roll Over, and also when the band were first starting out and first submitted their first 5-track demo in 1973. Also went to number 4 on the Billboard charts, selling more than 1 million copies within a few days of the album coming out. As I said, Kiss were really on a high. But after the album was released, Peter Criss and Ace Frehley wanted more creative freedom, but it's fair to say that Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley were a little bit frustrated with all the partying that the other 2 were doing, and they were so unreliable. Obviously, after this, each member produced a studio album, and arguably they oversaturated the market, and then Dynasty came along, so this was a real high, and then all of a sudden after this, it just went down completely. And I'm sure one day I might well review those albums and talk about what led to the downfall of Kiss. Anyway, let's talk about the tracks. There's 10 tracks to cover here. I have put vocals and songwriters on there as well on the right-hand list. But apart from on Hooligan, when Stan Penridge did contribute to the track with Peter Criss in terms of songwriting credits, all tracks are sung by the same person who wrote them. So let's move on to the first track, a bomber. Absolutely fantastic track. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is I Stole Your Love, written by Paul Stanley. What a brilliant guitar riff at the start of the track. I know that Love Gun is the most recognisable within a few seconds, but I Stole Your Love, what a rocker it is. And you'll realise that my thoughts throughout this album, that Paul Stanley is a little bit blows hot and cold. But this one is definitely a hot track, absolutely fantastic. Paul Stanley said it's inspired by Burn by Deep Purple, another great track, of course. Not as good as this one. But yeah, great rocking track. The guitar riffs throughout are fantastic. And for me, it's how Kiss should sound like, really. And the Live 2 version deserves a nod too. Great track, a great live track as well, and one of the Kiss greats. So second track, Christine 16 by Gene Simmons. This is rated an 8 out of 10 for me. It's fair to say this one isn't one that probably hasn't aged well. A little bit like Going Blind off the Hot and Hell album. But still a good track with catchy lyrics. Some radio stations actually didn't play it till after 7 PM in the evening because of a cut-off, because of the controversial nature of the track. Of course, it's a much older guy, effectively going to the school gates to look for Christine. Somebody that is completely infatuated with a schoolgirl, of course. Again, one that's still played on concerts regularly and went to number 25 in the US charts. The B-side is Shock Me, but an 8 out of 10 really for Christine Good. Christine 16, a good track, a very good track, one that I'd known long before listening to the full album, but it probably hasn't aged too well, and I think that's not necessarily on its side. Anyway, the next track, the second successive Gene Simmons songwriting composition, is Got Love for Sale, another 8 out of 10 for me. A bit more of a rougher cut if you compare it to Christine 16, the do. It sounds a little bit rougher to me than Christine 16, but still, regardless, a very good track, a great rocker, and as I've said before, as good as the previous track, and a good album track, a very good album track. Obviously nothing that's too substantial to be a single, but a great album track, a good rocker, and that's what I'm looking for from Love Gun, so fits the bill quite well. And then we go on to one of the best tracks on the album, one of Kiss's best tracks overall, period, if you like. And this is going to be a 9 out of 10. Not quite a 10 for me, not quite as good as I Stole Your Love, but still an absolute cracker. And that is Shock Me, Ace Frehley's first vocal contribution in terms of lead vocals for Kiss. One of my Kiss favourites, as I said beforehand. And an outstanding Alive Tour version, a really great Alive 2 version. It would have been interesting, wouldn't it, to see how Ace Frehley sounded on Parasite. I know that he did a version of Parasite on his recent album Origins Volume 1, which is like a cover album of a lot of the Kiss greats, but I haven't listened to that yet, and let's be fair, he's going to sound a little bit different to how he would have done all those years ago on Hotter Than Hell. So if he'd have been a little bit more confident back in those days, I'd have loved to have heard Parasite with Ace Frehley, because that's a cracking track too, but let's focus on Shock Me. It's a brilliant track. Again, the story is very similar to what the track suggests. Ace Frehley was caught by an electric shock at a concert and played on, even though it was in absolute agony, and basically that's what it's about. A very bizarre subject matter, I know, but a great track, and great rocker, and that guitar solo, that I mean, I'm not going to do any more because I sound like an idiot, but that Alive 2 extended guitar riff is just awesome. Comes in at nearly 8 minutes, that track does on Alive 2, and when Paul Stanley says, what is it he says at the start? Something about, we're going to turn the microphone over to Ace Frehley. Shock me. The goosebumps, the hairs on the arm is just, wow. Great track. A really great track. And then we move on to something that is probably the one dud of side one, and that's from Paul Stanley. Believe me, there's going to be a little bit of criticism comes in for Paul Stanley in this album, but at the same time, he wrote 2 of the best tracks on the album, so he very much does blow hot and cold. But no offence against Paul Stanley, but this is one of those that is a little bit naff. Probably the most poppy track on the record, that is Tomorrow and Tonight. It's only a 6 out of 10 for me. It's a decent track, don't get me wrong. It's not one that I go, oh my god, this is terrible. But it's a 6 out of 10 because it's decent, it's okay. I don't think mediocre is the right word, but it's average and nothing more. Not one I go back to too often, but a decent album track. And again, you guys are more absolutely within your rights to like that track as the best track on the album. That's what the great discussion and contributions down in the comments is for. That's the really important element that the comments create. But for me, not the best track in the world, but still a decent album track. So then we go into side 2. Whew, I'll tell you what, they start both the sides with crackers, don't they? Again, and Paul Stanley composition in terms of the lyrics anyway, but 10 out of 10. Love Gun, one of the best tracks. Oh, instantly recognisable. There aren't many tracks like that. There are a few that you can name, but not many. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic, and much like I Stole Your Love, it's one of the hot records, one of the hot tracks on this record. Absolutely fantastic, and I think it's fair to say that I've always preferred Paul Stanley with a harder track like this. A much richer track than the previous one that just sounded a little bit poppy and a little bit lackadaisical to me. This is just brilliant, Love Gun. It's, of course, one of the ones they play still to this day, one of the most memorable tracks. Of course, the title track from the album. But what a track it is. Absolutely brilliant. Then we move on to the, I think it's fair to say, the second third of the album, really, with Hooligan, the first and only Peter Criss written one, with Stan Penridge, who worked with Peter Criss before on Beth and Baby Driver. The last few tracks on this album have took me a little while to get into, but now I have. I do really like them. Hooligan would have been one of those. A 7 out of 10 for this. Not the perfect track. It's a good and catchy track, but drifts into something that's a little bit poppy, potentially. I feel that's a real crossover for a lot of the tracks on this album. You've got your real rockers, but nothing as serious as, for example, something like God of Thunder. But then you've got nothing as poppy as I Was Made for Loving You. It's very much that middle ground with a lot of tracks on this album. There's no way it's too poppy, but there's nothing that goes to the serious heavy stuff that I'm really looking for out of Kiss. So Hooligan's one of those that kind of errs on the side of caution towards the poppy side, I would say, but a good album track nonetheless. And then we've got to talk about Gene Simmons again, Almost Human. Again, a track that took me a little while to get into. A bit of a weird one, unconventional lyrics, just an unconventional arrangement. I don't know a hell of a lot about music and the mumbo jumbo, if you like, when it comes to it, but it does seem a little bit unconventional to me. But because it's weird, because it's quirky, it suits me. It's a good track. It's an 8 out of 10, this would be for me. A bit of a rawer sound with the drums, and as I've said again, slightly unconventional vocals, but a really enjoyable listen. So now we move on to the penultimate track of the record. Oh, what a track this is. Plaster Caster, the second 9 out of 10 for this record. Again, a Gene Simmons written track. A great listen for me. And a bit of background about this. This was based on Cynthia Plaster Caster. By the way, she wasn't born that. She was born Cynthia Albrighton or Albrighton. A groupie who gained fame for doing something pretty interesting, making plaster casts of famous persons' erect penises. I mean, that's one way to earn your money, I suppose. But a great rocker, and when I listen to the track, I try and kind of what's the word? Just ignore the fact that it's anything to do with that and just take the track as it is. But a really great rocker. And for me on this record, there's nothing that Gene Simmons can do wrong. There's some real fantastic tracks that Gene Simmons writes on this record, and this is one of the underrated ones, along with Almost Human, in my opinion anyway. Really catchy and a really enjoyable listen, so that's why it's a little bit better than the previous track. And then we move on to the final track of the record, which, to be quite honest, they could have just left it at 9 tracks and that would have been it. And this is a 5 out of 10, unfortunately. It does bring the album down, but that is the final track listed as the... Oh, sorry, it's Then She Kissed Me. Is it Then She Kissed Me? It could be either or. I don't know. It'll be the right one on here, but it's got to be Then She. I presume it's got to be Then She. The original would have been Then He. Yeah, because it's a woman singing it. I'm glad I've not got my wires crossed there at all. But anyway, I'm going to be long talking about this one. Paul Stanley summed it up very well. I don't need to say anything else. Some things in retrospect just don't work. That's a great song, but a song you don't mess with. And that's it. So, that's the 10 tracks talked about in some detail, and that was my hand, by the way, if you heard that. But as a verdict, if you guys don't know, on every album review I do, I tot up the rankings or the ratings of every track, divide it by the number of tracks. There's 10 tracks, and this album comes out at a 8 out of 10. Pretty good album, very good album. The end of the Kiss Golden Era, and what a way to end it. Yes, a few duds from Paul Stanley, great stuff from Gene Simmons, maybe apart from Christine 16. So, a great listen, a great album, one I might stick on again later, because I only really listened to a few tracks for this review, because I know this album very well, but one maybe I might listen to Destroyer later on, I'm not sure. Definitely listen to a Kiss album later on. I'm quite looking forward to that. But as I've said, reviews of the other great albums to come. I've just started with this because why not? And I'll be reviewing Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, Destroyer, and Rock and Roll Over, and potentially the 2 live albums as well as the later albums, of course, in due course. But of course, I've got to get through a lot of artists and a lot of albums, and this is a real cracker. So if you enjoyed this album, let me know down in the comments. If you listen to this album perhaps on the back of this review, please let me know down in the comments. And if you agree or disagree, whatever the hell I've said, if you're going, yeah, he's pretty spot on, or you're going, don't know what he's talking about, leave it down in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys. But again, keep it nice, don't be disrespectful, don't say, oh, he's just crap, because, I like to think I'm fairly well read up about the subject. I could get the odd thing wrong, which I'm more than happy for you guys to stay down in the comments. but a little bit of community discussion. I really look forward to that about Love Gun. But I hope you've enjoyed that, folks. As I've said, more album reviews to come in the future. I haven't uploaded to this channel for a while now, so want to try and make it a weekly thing again. Fingers crossed. But if you enjoyed that, leave a like down below. Share it with any of your friends who might be a Kiss fan. Really important to get the channel growing at this point. Comment your thoughts and subscribe for regular album reviews. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Suggest anything you'd like to see down in the comments apart from what I've just mentioned, and maybe any other bands, if I can get me tongue working. Any other bands, any other artists, anybody that might be similar to what I've reviewed on the channel. And if I've listened to it, I'll go, yeah, I'll review it. But if I haven't, I might give it a go. But thank you very much for watching, folks. Really appreciate your company. Thank you for watching. Rock on, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye for now.